Did you just point at me?
Yeah.
I'm tired.
No,
talking
no,
about
that's what you.
all of these
I'm
people.
sorry,
You know
baby,
what I
that's
think
what
is
you said.
horrible?
You said.
But
you know
you
what's
said
horrible?
that
when
it
people
was.
who
It's
shouldn't
okay.
be here end up murdering the
These
children.
women are completely out of touch with reality.
The White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt
Think how ironic.
announced that the Associated Press has been banned from the Oval Office for not honoring the recent renaming of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
I very rarely lose my cool, and I'm not proud of it. I don't like it. I'm very upset about that people are misunderstood what I was saying.
Think how ironic. Spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists, but they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years.
I respect everything everyone is saying to me, and I don't want to fake apologize.
He's trying to destroy the country. Now, why is he doing that? Just as a person in the audience, like watching this.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of theories.
Yes, and
what's... First of all, if he tanks the entire, what do you call it?
Economy,
the stock market, then all his billionaire friends can swoop in and buy everything low. That's not an original idea. That's Hakeem Jeffries said that.
Genius analysis there, Joy. You really are
Who is in charge? Because I've been saying it for a while.
Yes, you have.
I've been saying that I think Elon Musk believes he's president. I do.
Well, you've been calling him vice president.
I've called him vice president. I called him president because I don't know what JD is doing. I hardly ever say. I don't remember last time we even talked about JD.
You're right. He's planning the presidency when they get rid of Trump.
So you think it's Musk Vance?
Possible.
Hey, you know who? Stay away from the stairways.
It began with a smirk. Karoline Leavitt, sitting rigidly in her chair across from the hosts of The View, was no stranger to conflict. But on this day, she wasn't there to make peace. She was there to finish something. Not just an argument, but a war of words that had simmered beneath the surface for months. The show had barely begun when the tension thickened like smoke. Whoopi Goldberg cleared her throat, Alyssa Farah Griffin straightened her notes, and Joy Behar locked eyes with Karoline like a matador taunting the bull. They all knew what they were walking into. This wasn't a harmless debate. It was a detonation waiting to happen. And Karoline? She didn't flinch. For weeks, she'd endured the snide comments, the edited segments, the slanted narratives, but the final straw had been a leaked rehearsal tape, one that never aired, but somehow made its way into the hands of producers and, eventually, into the heart of public discourse. In that tape, Joy Behar had mocked her behind closed doors, calling her a pretty little puppet, while Sunny Hostin muttered, "She'll never survive DC without a script." Karoline had survived. More than that, she'd thrived. And now she was back with receipts, resolve, and a message. "You don't get to silence me." Her voice cracked through the studio air like a whip. "I came here today not just to speak, but to correct the record," she began, her tone calm but sharp. "Because while you hide behind commercial breaks and studio applause, the American people are still out there, listening, and they deserve the truth." There was a pause, tense, long. Joy interrupted with a scoff. "Oh, come on, Karoline, don't play the victim." But Karoline wasn't playing anything. She leaned forward, the fire unmistakable in her eyes. "This isn't about victimhood. This is about accountability. And if you think..."
I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason.
Did you just point at me?
Yes.
Listen, I don't have Trump derangement. Let me tell you what I have.
Okay.
I have a lot of. I'm tired.
Is talking
no,
about
that's
all
what you,
of these
I'm
people.
sorry,
You know
baby,
what I
that's
think
what
is
you said.
horrible?
You said,
Well, but you know what's
said
horrible?
that
When
it
people
was,
who
it's
shouldn't
okay.
be here end up murdering the...
I very rarely lose my cool, and I'm not proud of it. I don't like it. But I also don't like being accused of being hysterical, because that's one of the things I try not to be on this show. So.
That post alone reached over 8 million views in 12 hours. Thousands commented, reposted, and shared their own frustrations with what many were now calling the Viewgate incident. Former guests of the show began speaking out. Anonymous crew members leaked more behind-the-scenes footage. A retired camera operator even alleged that one host had demanded footage of her awkward responses be deleted in post-production. Suddenly, Karoline wasn't just fighting for herself. She had ignited something much bigger. An investigation was quietly launched. A network executive went mysteriously silent. And within days, conservative pundits and progressive watchdogs alike were calling for transparency about how the daytime show actually operated. That was when Karoline issued her final warning. At a press conference held outside the Capitol, she stood before a sea of microphones and delivered what would later be dubbed the takedown heard around the world. To the women of The View, to the network that protects them, and to every executive who thinks you can spin the truth, I'm coming for it. You've had your say. Now it's my turn. And she didn't stop at speeches. Karoline revealed she had been in touch with whistleblowers, former staffers, disillusioned interns. She had compiled a 300-page dossier documenting censorship, political bias, and what she described as a culture of narrative manipulation that would make Orwell blush. The mainstream media tried to downplay it, but they couldn't bury it. Everywhere she went, Karoline was asked the same question. What's next? She didn't blink when she answered. I'm going to finish what I started. They thought I'd back down, that I'd play nice, but I don't play by their rules. Back inside the studios of The View, the walls were closing in. The morning after Karoline's press conference, chaos quietly exploded behind closed doors. The producers scrambled into emergency meetings. Legal teams reviewed every frame of the now infamous interview. And Joy Behar, usually loud, brash, and untouchable, arrived at the studio 2 hours early, hiding behind oversized sunglasses and muttering, "This is going to be bad." She was right. ABC's board had already issued a quiet internal memo. All communication related to guest Leavitt must go through legal. They weren't just worried about fallout. They were terrified of what might come next. Because Karoline wasn't bluffing. Her dossier was real. And if even half of what she hinted at in her speech was accurate, it would shake daytime media to its core. What no one at The View expected was how fast it all moved. By noon, major news outlets had picked up the story. Not just the conservative ones, not just fringe YouTubers, but the big players, CNN, Politico, even the New York Times, were forced to acknowledge the firestorm. And for the first time in years, The View wasn't driving the narrative. It was stuck in the center of it, defenseless. Karoline's next move came swift and sharp. She published the first batch of internal emails from an anonymous whistleblower, a former junior producer who had resigned months earlier, but had kept every receipt. The emails detailed how hosts were given politically skewed cue cards. They showed instances where certain guests were blacklisted solely because they posed a risk of narrative disruption. One message stood out like blood on a white dress. Make sure we never book Karoline Leavitt again. She's too polished, too dangerous. She makes us look unprepared.
My team will review the applications and give credentials to new media applicants who meet our criteria and pass United States Secret Service requirements to enter the White House complex.
All right. What'd she say?
She basically said that they were going to give
Oh,
unqualified
God, how boring.
unqualified
Can they get
people
somebody that's not
The
so
Behind the
tedious?
Table podcast needs to apply for White House credentials.
Oh, they'd love having Joy in that room.
Joy
I got a question.
The mistake really is there's too much BS floating out there, and now it's out of our hands. There's no way to control it. So now they're saying they're going to control it. I want to see what they're going to do.
Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though. It's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
Whatever you're saying, this is the first time that she's been she may be. But my point is that job would not maybe have been open to her.
No, I understand. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
And the abuse continued.
It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about. President Trump was elected with a mandate from the American people to make this government more efficient. He campaigned across this country with Elon Musk, vowing that Elon was going to head up the Department of Government Efficiency, and the two of them, with a great team around them, were going to look at the receipts of this federal government and ensure it's accountable to American taxpayers. That's all that is happening here, and for Democrat officials to incite violence and encourage Americans to take to the streets is incredibly alarming, and they should be held accountable for that rhetoric.
The internet exploded. It wasn't just about Karoline anymore. It was about truth, about gatekeeping, about what millions of Americans already suspected, that the media wasn't just spinning stories, it was orchestrating them. Viewers who once adored The View were now asking questions. Why are they so afraid of her? If Karoline was lying, why are they panicking? Is this why certain voices never make it on air? The backlash spread like wildfire. Petitions surged online demanding an independent investigation into The View's guest practices. Prominent lawyers offered pro bono support to former employees. And inside the walls of ABC, a storm was brewing, one that no amount of PR damage control could contain. Meanwhile, Karoline was just getting started. She went live on her own YouTube channel. No filters, no producers, no network censorship. In a raw 90-minute monologue that drew over 10 million viewers within days, she laid out a timeline. Dates, names, clips that never aired, emails that couldn't be ignored. She wasn't attacking The View out of vengeance. She was making a case. Millions of Americans tune into these shows thinking they're seeing an honest debate, she said, looking directly into the camera. But what they're seeing is a rehearsed narrative, edited to protect fragile egos and outdated power structures. That ends now. In the studio, panic morphed into fury. Joy Behar reportedly confronted producers off camera. "Why didn't we vet her better?" she snapped. "Why didn't anyone stop her?" Whoopi Goldberg remained unusually quiet, and for once, Alyssa Farah Griffin refused to appear on set the next morning, citing mental exhaustion and requesting a temporary leave of absence. ABC tried to spin it. They issued a vague statement about editorial balance and internal reviews, but the public wasn't buying it. Karoline had already framed the entire battle as a fight for transparency. Now, every delay, every carefully worded corporate press release only made The View look guiltier. But the real blow came next. Karoline revealed that she had filed a formal congressional complaint. With backing from sitting members of Congress, she pushed for a review of media ethics, targeting The View as Exhibit A. The complaint included testimonies, emails, and even audio from guests who were coached to soften their criticism of progressive causes, or risk being cut from the segment entirely. The View's silence was deafening. Not a single host mentioned her name on air for days. The show pivoted, awkwardly discussing recipes, pet trends, and celebrity gossip. But viewers noticed. Ratings dipped. Hashtags like Jachich View the Truth and Chach Let Karoline Speak trended daily. Behind the scenes, ABC launched a quiet internal investigation. It was no longer about Karoline's claims, it was about liability. Lawsuits loomed. Former staffers were now being offered NDAs. And someone leaked that legal had suggested scrapping live tapings entirely in favor of a fully pre-recorded and sanitized format. Karoline, of course, doubled down. She went to Capitol Hill and met with members of the House Media Accountability Caucus. She spoke to students at journalism schools about narrative laundering. She even teased that she was working on a book, part exposé, part manifesto. Her message remained consistent. They thought I'd disappear, that I'd walk off that stage and stay quiet. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm coming for the truth, and I won't stop until everyone hears it. Karoline Leavitt didn't just walk into The View. She cracked the glossy facade of a media empire that had long been protected by power, politics, and public perception. Her appearance, her walk-off, and her relentless exposure of what happens behind the scenes have shaken daytime television in a way we haven't seen in decades. She refused to be silenced, refused to play by the rules of a rigged game, and now, millions are watching the fallout in real time. Congressional hearings are being whispered about in backroom meetings, legal departments are scrambling, ratings are plummeting, and still, Karoline stands tall, issuing one final warning that reverberates through every newsroom in America. I'm coming for the truth. This isn't just about one show, one network, or one explosive moment. It's about pulling back the curtain on a media machine that has silenced, twisted, and manipulated far too long. So now the question is yours. Will Karoline's truth finally break the walls of mainstream media, or will the machine do what it always does, bury the fire before it spreads? Let me know what you think in the comments below, because this fight isn't over, and I'm reading every single word.